Back with another episode of Blue Turf, and we are on location at
the world-famous Kansas City Soccer Dome.
That is Eric Bergrud from the Kansas City Comets broadcast team and so many other things. This is Thad Bell from the KC Soccer Journal. We're sitting here watching some training, some very familiar faces, some of them not normally from the Comets, but I don't know if I can say that just yet. All right, how are you today, Eric?
Hey, 2 wins last weekend. It's a good time here in Comets Nation.
Yeah, kind of killed that 3-game not winning streak, overtime losses, regular losses, etc. Nearly a shutout. Oh wait, something about a shutout. Was it? Did you jinx something?
I've been accused of jinxing something. So it's an interesting story. So a Tacoma fan was sending me stuff and questions in my phone. A few people know how to reach me, and this started the whole shutout talk. And he asked the trivia question: who was which former Comets and Stars goalkeeper has the all-time record for most shutouts? Well, I'm like, okay, I didn't fact check it at the time. I'm like, all right, well, we'll go with it. Mike Dowler. So I got fact checked later in the week that's actually not true. It was William Van Zela of the Baltimore Blast. But going back to the game, so that got me started thinking about shutouts in history. And so I started telling a story, and I'm like, yeah, I just jinxed it. And then right after that, Tacoma scores, and I never heard the end of it from some longstanding Comets fans. First of all, I'm not superstitious, so I don't defend on the field, and I'm not going to take responsibility for that goal, but I appreciate why people might think it was my fault.
Yeah, I know. I've been the fan that's kind of blamed people for that stuff too. I remember one of the Wizards announcers saying, "Oh, the game's game set match or something," and then the other team came back with like 3 goals and won it. I was so ticked.
Well, so the counter is, how many times did announcers keep their mouth shut and then a goal went in anyway? So
yeah. No, I know it's not really your fault, but
it's okay. People can believe that. It's all right. At least they're watching.
I don't really believe it, but it's more the oh, why did you have to do it? Just that little edge. But anyway.
I got by the way, like at 3:30 the next morning, I got a nice note from Kenny Mayer.
Yeah.
I won't share exactly what it was, but he made it pretty clear that I had something to do with this. So.
Well, I would believe Kenny is superstitious. I would believe that. Kenny's a great guy.
Yep, absolutely.
But yeah, I would believe he was superstitious, potentially. All right, 2 wins. One at home against Tacoma, almost a shutout. And then going on the road against Milwaukee. Let's go to Tacoma. We've known that they've had struggles on the road, but they've also traditionally had success at the Comets. This one was definitely not success at the Comets.
So a couple things. The guy who's been really successful playing for them, Corey Keats. In fact, in 2021 this week, that we're recording this on Thursday, so actually 5 years ago tonight, he beat the Comets with a game-tying goal and an overtime goal. Out for the season with an Achilles injury. They rested a couple players. You're noticing the Comets doing that too on these weekends where there's a road game and a home game. So Juice Cox wasn't there. Tyler John wasn't there. But even still, the Comets dominated them almost from kickoff. And there was never any doubt who was going to win. The question was the final score.
Yeah, I think it was kind of cruise mode for the Comets, which is probably why they gave up the couple goals at the end. It wasn't much to do with the announcer jinxing it.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think that they probably took their foot off the pedal there in the fourth quarter, but there was no doubt who was going to win that game.
Yeah. We did get the old friend alert there with Danny Waltman coming in goal a couple different times in the game. I kind of felt bad for him.
Well, I talked to him in the tunnel before the game. It was weird watching him wear number 1, and we talked about it on air. But he was a good teammate. He took 1, gave 24 to Kai Briscoe, and Briscoe is an impressive player. But Danny, at his age, he still makes some great saves.
He's early 40s?
44?
Somewhere there?
Yeah, no.
Early mid-40s.
Yeah.
I think he was out for a year or two with an injury, but then came back. And, I was not that mobile at 40-something.
Right.
But and Danny's a great guy. He's always been just a wonderful person. He was on the bench while I was doing photos.
Yeah.
I was on the Comets bench. He was on the Tacoma bench, and I look over and I'm like, "Hey, Danny, how you doing, man?" He's like, he looks over and he like reaches over and gives me a hug during the game.
That's funny. Totally funny. Yeah, what a great and genuine guy. We were telling stories about him on air, and as it turned out, the first time the Comets beat him was the Comets 2 in 2005, like that night, the Tacoma game. So it's just sort of interesting how it all played out. But he was playing for the Chicago Storm, and the Comets went up there and won at UIC Pavilion.
Yeah. Anyway, just Danny's a great guy. All right, a lot of great players in this game, but Danny will always be one of my favorites. But it was a pretty much cruise to win. It was good to get a comfortable, I don't want to say easy because nobody's totally easy, but it was good to get a comfortable win for the Comets. Break that win streak.
Nacho with what Nick Vassos called a cheeky goal, a backheel goal. For me, Rian Marquez, 4 assists, and what you want from your targets is some combination of scoring goals and making passes as players run off. They're holding the ball, and he was terrific that day. Lucia Tetsane continues to impress on defense, and I think that Comets teams that have been successful historically, I'd say let's call it Comets and attack teams, you had a defender who could score from distance, and Tetsane can score. He's gotten a lot of box shots this year, and that's made a huge difference.
Yeah. Another good thing from that was Ali got his first goal.
Yep, Ollie's looked good, and we talked earlier about who is going to be the breakout player, and so far we're both wrong, and Ollie seems to be the guy right now getting the minutes.
Well, the guy we first thought was Joe, but he was hurt and not quite got back in the groove. Although he's had a few minutes here and there.
Well, and I picked Stankovic, and he's been off and on in his minutes, but it looks like Ollie's finding his spot. He we'll talk about Milwaukee. He could have had a goal at Milwaukee too.
Yeah, I just have to wait because sometimes guys come out really strong and then they kind of fade a bit. But since he's already played in M2, and he's just got to learn exactly how the Comets want him to play at times. Because still watching, sometimes it's like he'll be looking like, what do you want me to do?
Right.
And I was joking with him because, again, I was on the bench shooting in the third quarter, and he was out there. And I swear there was so many players like, oh, go here, Ollie, over there, oh, no. And it was like he was told to go in 5 different directions. And he's like, maybe just let him figure it out or have one person tell him. But between coaches and other players, he was kind of like, what the hell do I do?
Yeah, no, but he's impressed so far, and I think that you saw there's a core of players developing, and the other person we should mention is Marcel Berry. The goals are coming.
Yeah, he's looking good and getting right back into where we expected him to be last year, or he was starting to be last year. Again, it always takes time to adjust to teams when you come to new teams.
But a quick coming back from a season-ending injury too, so kudos to him.
So because his adjustment to a new team was kind of cut short last year, but he's been looking good. Anybody else stand out from that game?
I thought the defense was strong. A guy that we haven't talked a lot about who put in a lot of minutes last weekend was Chase Peterson.
Yeah,
and I think that here's somebody who. I called his games in college. He was a forward, dropped back to the Comets, didn't play last season, came back, and I thought he had one of the better weekends of anybody in both games.
Yeah, consistent across both games. Solid defense, looked good. My only complaint is when it was watching the Wave game, like him and Andreas both had light-colored hair, and it was like,
who's who? Yeah.
Like, wait a minute, I need better. Oh, they're both on the field, No, so I can't complain about people's hair. So, no, he looked good. All right, to the Milwaukee game. Were you expecting that result?
Let's just say I wasn't surprised by that result for 2 different reasons. One is, so even though Kansas City had to travel north and they had to adjust their travel plans, they had a bus malfunction. They got to rest on Saturday, but Milwaukee had to host the 16-time champion San Diego Sockers. Great. Milwaukee wins Saturday night, but then they had to turn around and host the Comets. I thought the Comets were going to be very motivated to win up there. They've they've done all right up there in recent years. They won in the playoffs there a couple years ago, but coming up 8 seconds off the kickoff, Zach Rega to Chad Vandergriff goal, and Vandergriff made a great backdoor or back post run. You could tell this was going to be a different game.
Yeah, they got out to a lead, and Milwaukee fought back, but they never gave up that lead, and just a really solid road game against a team who's already had your number at your house twice this year. So,
yeah, I'd say, and definitely Milwaukee's dealing with injuries. They're still waiting to get Ian Bennett back. Ricardo Carvalho's still out. Breno Oliveira's out, but the core of that team is good enough to go all the way.
Yeah.
And so you take a win as a win without an asterisk next to it.
Well, when you're listing off all the injuries those players had, if I was listing off the injuries the Comets would have, you would say, oh, you got to win with who you got. You got to use your depth. So, I mean, I was not going to let you get away with that. But you
no.
pulled
But
it
that's
back.
the point, is that it's very easy, particularly for fans, to rationalize losses like,
Right.
oh, if we had our best players out there, we would have won. Well, for a variety of reasons, you may not have your best players out there. But guess what? Every team, one way or the other, is going to be in the same boat.
Yeah. At least at some point in the season.
Absolutely. Maybe not at the same time, but at some point, right?
And again, it does affect you by not having all of your players. It does. And it's just that you can't always use that as an excuse. But it is a factor. But yeah, no, I was just really happy with the win. I was pleasantly surprised. And not like, shocked, because I know the Comets have the quality. I just didn't want to count on a win over Tacoma at home as like, this is like, they're back in form moment. A win in Milwaukee kind of tells me that maybe they're back in the form they want to be, or closer.
And if you're thinking, just let's call it historically, the last several years, there's been a stark difference between the Comets' home record and road record. And for the first time in a while, their road record is better than their home record. And this is looking like a team that can go into anybody's arena and grab points. And this kind of takes you back to the Vlatko-Andonovski era of a team that they were convinced anywhere they played, any arena they played, that they were going to win that game. And that's the attitude, the culture that you need to be a championship team.
You know, when after the 3 games where they didn't win, if they had come into this weekend and lost against Tacoma, I think one of my first questions would have been, is there a hot seat for a coach? I don't think there is now, just because, they bounced back and they've had streaks in the past 2 seasons where they've not won, or they barely won, or they didn't get the results that they should have been getting. So I was like, I was a little worried that might be happening again. And again, it could still happen. They have to go on the road. They got a lot of games left. That there could be a bad streak still.
Well, you never know what teams, and I'm not speaking specifically about the Comets, but you never know how teams react to this administratively. Do they look at the roster and say, we need to make a trade to change the chemistry there? Do they look at the coaching staff? I don't get any sense at all that the Comets want to change direction. They just want results.
Although I do wonder if they're going to be signing a player that I see out there practicing with them. But again, I'm gonna let them deal with that for the moment.
Yeah,
Practicing
to our listeners, you just need to come out to the world famous Kansas City Soccer Dome and see who's showing up here. You never know.
Yeah, practicing with does not necessarily mean any intent to sign, because there will be players that will practice with them just to stay in shape. So
That's fair.
I don't want to assume anything that I haven't heard yet. All right, let's take one more thing.
And then we need to take a break.
Yes, the win in Milwaukee was
200th
regular season win
of Comets 3.
Yes, pretty darn good number.
No, really good number. I think that Kansas City's been consistently, this iteration of the Comets, you get past that expansion year in 2010, but consistently one of the best teams in the league, and I think that win total speaks to that.
Yeah, they have consistently been good through most of that time. They've had bad streaks. They've had down years where they were only upper middle pack, things like that, but they have been consistently good. Speaks a lot to the organization. We will be right back. And we are back, and you are listening to The Blue Turf, KC Soccer Journal podcast. This is Thad. That's Eric.
Eric.
This weekend, they're going on the road to Empire.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see how their flight itinerary shakes up because we're anticipating some wintry weather here in
Yeah.
Kansas City. So they have a Sunday evening game, our time Sunday late afternoon game in Ontario, 4 p.m. Pacific. Do some math, that would be 6 p.m. Central Time. And so it's interesting about that Empire matchup. Couple things. One is Empire finally got a result on the road after a long wait. They won 7-6, I believe it was, in Tacoma. It was a great game. They host, we're recording this Thursday morning, they host this evening the San Diego Sockers, which they seem to have problems at home against San Diego.
Yeah.
So they're going to have that game, and that could affect their trajectory one way or the other. But then after Sunday's game, both teams come back to Kansas City next Friday. So Kansas City and Empire are going to get good taste of each other here over the next week and a half.
Yeah, that it's going to be an interesting, home and home type of scenario. And like you said, the weather may totally affect us because nobody really knows what this weather is going to do. It's been 17 inches over Georgia, 7 inches over Kansas City, various different predictions. Who knows?
Well, one thing I can pretty much assure you is there are no direct flights between Kansas City International Airport and Ontario's airport, so they're going to have to connect somewhere. But I'm sure they figured it out. And Sunday, that's going to be an interesting game. Empire played without Marco Fabian last weekend. He was playing in I guess you could call it an old-timers game in Mexico, and he got an excuse of absence, and they still found a way to get one result on the road. They lost in St. Louis, but won in Tacoma. Justin Stinson always impresses, and he stepped up, but they have a core of players on that team. We talked before we started recording that I think we expected better things or bigger things of them.
Yeah.
The season's not over, but they're near the bottom of the pack and absolutely looking above them in the standings in terms of who can we catch up to. But battling with Utica, they're kind of near at the bottom too, UCFC. And so we're starting to now see maybe a little bit of gap between the teams that will be in the playoffs versus the teams that hope to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely we expected the Comets to be up in the top two. They've hit a rough patch, but every team has hit a rough patch so far, and they're still in good position to be a top three team because they still have some games in hand over teams that are right behind them. But they're in decent position to be in the top three at least at this point. Hopefully the top two, maybe even one. I'm not ruling any of that out. But I mean, it's like you said, it's starting to shake out a little bit, which is midway through the season. For the Comets are already past midway. A lot of teams are approaching their midpoint for the schedule. We're kind of starting to see it, like you said.
So let me ask you a question, Thad. You mentioned that other teams have games in hand on the Comets. If you were at this point, would you rather be the Comets in first place, having played those games, or would you rather be like a Milwaukee or San Diego who still have to play games to pass the Comets?
Right.
Which way would you rather be?
Well, you always want to be the one in first, and games in hand do not equally translate to full points. I know that. But you still want to look at like who they have left to play, and again, you can look at teams that you have left to play and go, they should win that game. That other team has some part to play in that. That doesn't always work. We've seen this with every level of sports anywhere. Games in hand do not always translate to the points that you want. But it's also not a bad spot to be in that you're 3 points back and you have 2 games in hand or something like that.
So if you keep in mind my first law of MASL, which is you can't count on any other team doing you any favor.
Nope.
But you can do a little bit of scoreboard watching this week. So you mentioned the other teams battling for first place, San Diego and Milwaukee. San Diego, we mentioned earlier, plays Thursday night at Empire, but then they've got to fly to Baltimore for a Saturday game. They won in Baltimore last time they played there a few weeks back, but that was the first of 2 games in the weekend.
Yeah.
This is going to be driving up to Ontario Thursday night, driving back home, likely then getting on a plane Friday across the country and then playing at Baltimore. So it's going to be really interesting to see San Diego, everybody complains about their schedule, 6 consecutive road games, and they've actually fared fairly well there. Milwaukee, home and away with St. Louis. They're going to play, weather permitting.
Right.
They'll play Saturday night at the Family Arena in St. Charles, and then both teams will head up for a Sunday rematch in Milwaukee. It'll be interesting to see if the weather has any impact on not just if the games happen, but also just attendance at both, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy for those teams. The Wave have 3 games in hand over the Comets right at this point. Sockers have 4, but they're also 8 points back. That's a lot of points to make up in 4 games. I mean, you basically have to win 3 of them outright to guarantee that. So
right.
They win.
But you can't, and I appreciate this, where Comets fans will be watching these games hoping that there's help.
Right.
You have to take care of your own business because, in this league, nobody's going to do you any favors, and to assume that Baltimore would beat San Diego at home every time they played this year and would help out. Well, Baltimore's already lost the first one.
Right.
They could conceivably lose again, and that's if you just do some math in your head, that's San Diego pulling potentially 6 points out of Baltimore there. Kansas City only played there once and got rocked, so go figure.
Yeah, and there's a lot of teams that, if everything goes right for them, could be very close to or past the Comets in the standings. But they have to win a lot of those games that they have left. Again, we're only halfway through the season. So many things can change.
So this season was front-loaded with a lot of games. We're now, for the Comets, in the second half of the season. Other teams are still getting there. I think when we start getting into February, the Comets' schedule, let's just say, stalls out a little bit.
Yeah.
And so you'll see fewer Comets games in February, but these other teams will be playing more games, and then the numbers will start to balance out. That gives the Comets a good opportunity to rest, get healthy. Players who are dealing with nagging injuries get some time off. But as we get through February into March, it gets pretty heavy schedule-wise.
It does. Got a prediction for the game at Empire?
Well, they can win there. They haven't consistently played there, but they could absolutely win there. So I would just say, yeah, Empire has a tough game here against San Diego. Regardless of the result, I like Kansas City on Sunday. I think if Empire beats San Diego, that's like beating Big Brother. And emotionally, how do they get ready to come back against Kansas City? If they lose, they may be a little bit more desperate. I also think that could help out Kansas City.
It could. And then just the extra wear and tear on the players of playing the 2 games within, it's 4 days, so it's really not that bad. But all right, what else do we need to discuss?
No, I guess we'll see if there's, what they say, when there's smoke, there's fire. We'll see if
any new players?
Any new players who might be here at the Soccer Dome actually get signed. We don't know. I mean, we're not stringing the listeners along. We legitimately don't know. So
No, I don't.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to start I don't like starting rumors.
Right.
So, yes, there is a player that a lot of fans would know here practicing with them. That doesn't mean they're signing. It could be just that they're staying in shape to go to a different team.
I can tell you it's not Lionel Messi, so you can take him. If everybody's like, okay, give us 3 hints, it's not Lionel Messi, so there you go.
Yeah, it's nobody from Inter Miami.
They're signing everybody, so.
Yeah, damn. Let's see. Any last words, thoughts?
No, other than maybe a shameless plug. We're going to be bringing back Season 3 of the league's 10 for 10 series. And what we're going to try to do this year is it's very different from the last 2 years. Let's call it the through line between indoor soccer and then the World Cup coming. And so what we're doing is interviewing well-known American soccer personalities who have a connection to indoor soccer in their past. And so this will be former players, former fans, etc., whose soccer life and identity were shaped to a certain degree by indoor soccer. How's that?
So wait, you're not going to interview me? Come on.
I guess you're a personality.
Yeah, a lot of people say I don't have any personality, but yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not as famous as the people I know you've talked
Well,
to
and
so far.
I don't know that I have permission to leak names. Otherwise, I would say, okay, episode 1. In fact, we recorded. I think we'll release episode 1 in early February. I've already recorded 2 of the interviews, and I'm actually thinking that we might want to do them in reverse order, just so that way there's a theme that plays through the interviews. But stay tuned. I think there's going to be some names that are well known, not only to people from Kansas City, but people who've been following indoor soccer for a long, long time. And although it's not a Kansas City show, I can't help but finding ways to connect Kansas City to it. So you're just going to have to stay tuned.
You have to lean into your strengths, and that's definitely one of them. All right. Appreciate the time. I am looking forward to those interviews because I do know who 2 of them are, but I won't say.
That's good.
I won't say. I do honor the ethics of not revealing things when I'm told stuff.
Well, considering that's the big buzz in Kansas City this week about news leaking about international soccer things, it's probably good that people can trust you with information.
And honestly, I was told by somebody about some of that. Let's see, was over, Friday night. Yeah, it was Friday night. I was told some of that stuff, and they were like, you cannot say anything. Damn it. Plus, you always want to have a source that you can point back to, a recording or a shot or something. And anyway, I appreciate the time, Eric. So as Eric and I wrap up, stay tuned. There will be an interview with Coach Stokic, and after that, we'll be out. All right, I'm here with Coach Stokic. How are you today, Coach?
I'm good. How are you?
Not bad. 2 wins this last weekend. Kind of a good bounce back from the 3 games with winless. But how do you feel about how this last weekend went?
Again, when you win 2 games, it's really good. But I think for us is our main thing was fixing those little details that we were struggling with in those last 3 games that we played and that we've lost, 2 in overtime and 1 by 1 point. I felt like the boys came out, executed the game plan, played well. The only thing I would add, maybe in the Milwaukee, we could have probably closed that game a little bit earlier. But again, you come down to game Friday, travel, and I think the boys, came and overcame and did a great job.
Right, so that game in Tacoma, I don't think you guys were ever in danger. I mean, maybe a little disappointed you didn't get the final shutout there,
Correct.
But I mean that's really hard to do in this league.
Yep. I mean, the only thing that we were missing in that Tacoma game was the shutout, and I think we had it. Unfortunately, again, it's indoor, ball bounces. When you look at their 2 goals that they scored, bad touch by Acosta. Zach not winning his 50-50 on defensive. We're on power play defense, if I'm corrected. The ball, so again, indoor is very hard to get a shutout. And then we went to Milwaukee, which I think, we could have closed that game, by the 3rd quarter, in my opinion, with the opportunities and the chances that we had. Unfortunately, we didn't, and then it became a little bit longer game. But then you look at it, Milwaukee's a really good team. I think, this year they've done really, 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 really good. And I think, for us to get that win in Milwaukee was a really huge statement for us.
Eric and I were talking earlier that Ali had a good weekend, got his first goal, got a good amount of playing time. What have you seen from him transitioning into the first division of indoor?
First of all, he's a great kid. Number one, very coachable. When we played in those first 2 games, I think it was against St. Louis, if I'm corrected. Yeah. In the first game against St. Louis, he had some good moments, but he was struggling with defensively. And then the second game, I think the game was within 2 or 3 days, if I'm corrected. And he came out and played, I think, a much better game than he did the first game. So when we look at that, we're like, oh, this kid is, he has a lot more to give. Yeah. And I think the one thing that he upped his game on is the defensive side of it, the pressure, how we do things, and he wasn't, hurting us defensively. Offensively, I felt like he should have had, already 5 or 6 goals when you look at the 4 games that he's played. And I think in Milwaukee, I think he had great 2 opportunities. Even against Tacoma, he had a really good opportunity. When you watch him here in practice, most of the time, any chance he gets, it goes in. So I think it's going to take a little bit more time I think he can be even more effective, to be honest with you, and putting points on putting goals on the board. But again, everything takes time, and you have to have patience. But he's growing tremendously on this team.
I know at the beginning of the year, we always ask who's going to be the breakout player, and I think you declined to answer, maybe, and Eric and I may have been both wrong. I think it might be Ali at the end of it, but we'll see.
I told you why I declined, because every
know.
year when I said someone, everybody needs to step up. So
Right.
for me, like I told you when we talked the last time, everybody needs to step up.
Yeah, no, I'm just taking ownership of when I'm wrong, so it's all good. I'm just always pleasantly happy, surprised, whatever you want to say, to see young guys, and I know he played into the MASL2 and was really good there, but it's just a step up in speed, tactics, teamwork, all that stuff as you go up. So I'm very happy for him.
Yeah, he's adapted well, and hopefully can continue.
All right, so this game in Milwaukee last week, I hear there was not an easy trip to get there. Is there anything you can tell me?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a long trip. We ended up, we were supposed to go with the bus. The window blew out of the back of the bus. So we had to end up renting.
While you were driving, or?
No, before.
Okay.
So Vic, our bus driver, went to pick it up, and he literally, left the rental place to get on the highway, and it just blew out. So he went and returned it. We were trying to figure out, do we close the window with something? It's going to be cold.
Yeah.
It's going to be loud. It's a long trip. So we ended up renting, 3 12-passenger vans. But we were supposed to leave at 8 in the morning. We didn't leave until 10. So it was, back and forth to the airport, to get the vans, and we finally got on the road. I think it was 10 o'clock or a little bit after 10. And we didn't get into Milwaukee until about 7:30 or 8.
Did you investigate, see if it was a Milwaukee fan that sabotaged it?
I don't know, but yeah, we should.
I don't know if fans always know how difficult those trips are, especially in the smaller vans and stuff. It's not a lot of room, not much room to spread out.
It's not, and especially with the game that we played Friday, traveling in those vans for 10 hours, because we were driving through almost snowstorm, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It was windy, it was snowing, it was ice, so that drive became longer, and I think, again, the boys, I'm very proud of them. They took it as a positive, and they came out flying on Sunday.
Sometimes having that little bit of adversity brings a team even closer to a close team even closer.
Yeah, I mean, again, the guys, we've dealt with a lot of adversity this year, and I think we have had moments we could have done better within it, but I think that's what's making us stronger, and hopefully, helping us push for the push on the end of the season.
All right, so Empire this weekend, maybe battling more weather delays or weather issues, but we'll see how that goes. But what do you expect from Empire?
Again, we had a team meeting this morning, video session on them. They are a very good team individually. They have very good individual players, technical players, crafty players that can finish. And especially the way that they play. We look at them; they are in 7th place, but they're the team that have conceded the less goals. So I think they're at 38 goals conceded, and they scored 37. So they like to keep the games very close, very tight. So we have to make sure that when it comes down to that, we win those battles and we win the game. And putting our chances away is going to be very very important with the empty net. Hopefully. Again, we put the ball in the net, but again, they're 7th place, but they're a good team. I think we are going to have to play our best game, especially when you go on the road. Anywhere you go on the road, you have to play your best game, and I think for us, it's just stay focused on what we're doing. So no matter what happens, is that we have to stay what works for us, what's our strengths, keep it to that, and the quality. Again, we're going to score goals, but we have to make sure that defensively we don't give away goals.
You mentioned how they've given up the fewest goals, and I know you've played more games than any other team, but you've given up the most goals of any team. I don't know how it works out to per game, but probably higher than you would like.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, again, we are failing in that aspect because, again, game plan for the season. But I think if we can go back to what we're doing like we did the last 2 games and continue, that's going to be the challenge, right? Can we continue playing the way that we are playing with the schedule and the teams that we're playing against? So I think if we do that, we'll get back on track. But, yeah, I'm definitely not happy with where we're at with the goals conceded for sure.
question that Eric and I kind of debated a little bit earlier is, would you rather be in the spot where you're in first, but other teams have games in hand who could catch you? Which spot would you rather be in, the one in first or the one that has games in hand to try to catch?
I mean, good question. I think that I feel like the mentality-wise, psychology-wise, is that you want to be on that first place, right?
Yeah.
Just mentally, and teams are chasing you, which I think that gives us a little extra push too. But I think any position that you're in, you're still fighting. You're still fighting to get to that first place. So for me, either or, I just want to make sure that we do our best to prepare ourselves for playoffs, because that's when it's most important.
Cool. Anything I should have been smart enough to ask you?
No, we're good.
Well, and we talked about this earlier, and I don't know if you want, I'll cut this out, but saw a player out there practicing. Is he just practicing?
For now, yes. Yes, he's just practicing for now. We'll see.
All right. I love the full disclosure. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Coach. I know how this stuff works. Can't always say these things. So I do respect that, and I will not say anything other than there's somebody out there that's interesting.
Yes.
I appreciate the time, Coach.
Yep, no problem.
We're out.
Attention passengers, we've now reached our destination. We hope you enjoyed the flight and have a nice day.